Your client-side JavaScript is starting to mold. It's starting to resemble a bad spaghetti code, and it is time to add structure, but it won't take too long. Gotta get your truth out of the DOM. Take your data in the models that you cannot lose. We'll render out your models with the help of the views. And if you don't want your JavaScript to end up like a mess, it's time for the anatomy of Backbone.js at codeschool.
You're watching the Anatomy of Backbone.js, and this is level 6, Collections and Views. In the last level, we learned about collections, but now we're going to want to show those collections to the user, and that's where collection views come in. So in this level, we're going to build something that looks like this. But first, let's review our model view. As you can see, we've defined it here with the render function. Then when we create a new to-do item and pass it into a new to-do view instance, we can render it out and we'll get the HTML. As you may have noticed, our models and views have a one-to-one relationship. That means that our model has one view and our view has one model. With the collection views, that's not really the case. Since our collection view has many models, it's also going to have many views. That's because the collection view delegates to the model views to actually render the HTML. The collection view doesn't render any of its HTML itself. Defining a collection view is just the same as a model view. Here we're creating a to-do list view and then creating a new instance of that view. But this time, instead of passing in a model, we're passing in a collection. Let's take our first crack at writing the collection views render function. So we have our collection in render, and we want to go through each model in the collection, and we're going to use for each for that. Inside of our for each loop, we're going to create a to-do view for each model, and then we're going to render each to-do view and take that view's element and append it to our collection views element. There's a problem with this code though. Earlier we saw when we listen to events on a collection or a model, we sometimes have to pass in a context parameter. And it works the same way with for each. So here, whenever this function is called inside of for each, it's going to have the wrong context. So let's do a little refactoring to fix this. First, we're going to add a new function called add1. This is going to do what our for each loop was doing before, except now it's its own function. Then we update the render function and pass the add1 function to for each. We also have to add a second argument to for each to make sure the context of add1 is called on the view. Let's see this render in action. First, we'll create a new instance of the collection view, passing in our to-do list collection. Then we render it, and when we print it out to the console, you can see that we've got both model views inside of the collection view's top level element. What's going to happen though when we try to add a new to-do item to our collection? Right now it's not going to update the view. We have to change our collection view first. Let's add an initialize function to our collection view. And just like we did with the model views, we'll listen to the add event, and whenever that add event is triggered, we'll call the add1 function. And we won't forget our third parameter. Now when we add our new to-do item to the to-do list, our view will be updated. So now let's see that in action. Here we've already got a couple to-do items in our collection already on the view, and we're going to go in the console and add a new to-do item with a description and status. And as you can see, the view has been updated with our new to-do item. And let's just see that again. Instead, this time let's change the status to complete and give it a different description, and we can see that it works correctly. Just like adding a new item to the collection at first didn't update our DOM, right now if we fetch a bunch of new items from the server, our DOM isn't going to get updated. When we call fetch on the collection, it's going to fire the reset event. We can listen to this event in the collection view and call this new function addAll when that event is fired. Now all we have to do is define addAll, which pretty much just does what render was doing before, and update render to use the add all function. Let's see the reset event in action. So to start, we're going to take our collection view and we're going to render it. Then we're going to add the collection view's top level element into the DOM. So now when we get our collection and call fetch on it, it's going to fetch the new data from the server, and when that reset event is fired, it's going to update the DOM. There is one problem though. Let's say we try to remove an item from the collection. Shouldn't that remove it from the view? Well, as you can see here, it's not updating the view. To fix this problem, we're actually not going to need to touch the collection view at all, and I'll show you how using custom events. We know that when we remove an item from the collection, the remove event is triggered. When we remove an item from a collection, we don't actually destroy the item. If we do destroy it, it would have removed it from the view, but that's not what we want. So instead, let's use custom events. In our to-do list collection, we're going to define the initialize function, and we're going to say whenever the remove event is fired on this collection instance, call hide model. Now we define the hide model function, and as you remember from level 5, the function is going to accept the model that is removed. So now inside of our hide model function, we're going to trigger a new custom event called hide on that model. And then we can open up our to-do item view and listen for that hide event, and whenever that is triggered, we can remove the view from the DOM. Bringing it all together, let's see it work in our browser. So here we have our 3 items, and we're going to remove the first item from the collection. And using those hide events, it's going to remove the single item from the view. That's it for level 6 collection and views. Good luck in the challenge area. We'll see you back here for the last level, level 7, where we'll be going over routers and history.